They gave you the trophy. They put your name on the slide. They stood in front of the room and pointed at you, said you were the reason it worked. And you stood there, chest out, feeling like you finally arrived. But here is what nobody said out loud that day. The check went somewhere else. Think about it. That project you carried from nothing. Those late nights you absorbed alone. That idea you dropped in a Tuesday meeting that somehow became the company's flagship strategy this quarter. You got the applause. Someone else got the invoice. And the worst part, you said thank you. You actually said thank you. This is not about one job, one bad boss, one unlucky year. This is a system. A calculated, deliberate, centuries-old system built to keep productive men paid in validation instead of value. Today we dismantle it because Machiavelli saw it all coming 500 years ago, and he left a warning most men never receive. You were raised to believe something clean and simple. Work hard, do great work, stay loyal, and the reward will come. That belief is not a virtue. It is a script they handed you so you would never negotiate, never demand, never stop producing while they kept profiting from every hour you gave without asking a single question. The pain you feel, that quiet resentment, when someone else gets promoted, overwork you built, that heavy silence when your raise request gets tabled again, that specific kind of tired you carry when your name made the project famous but not your bank account. That pain is real, and it was designed to be invisible, designed so you would blame yourself before you ever questioned the system. Here is the mechanism. Human beings are wired to respond to recognition. It triggers dopamine. It feels like reward. And the people above you, whether consciously or not, learned long ago that recognition is cheaper than compensation. So they use it instead. They give you the credit. So you stop asking for the money. It is that precise. It is that cold. It is that simple. They promoted your name while protecting their margins. They quoted you in rooms you were not invited to. They put your title on the proposal deck and your value on the expense line. You became the brand. They became the business. And somewhere in the middle of being told how important you are, you forgot to ask what you are actually worth. The system is not broken. It is working perfectly. The question is, working for whom? Not for you. Not for the man who shows up, delivers, and trusts that excellence is its own argument. It is working for the man who understood, long before you did, that power is never given freely. Power is negotiated by men who refuse to be paid in praise. Niccolo Machiavelli was not a villain. He was a diagnostician, a man who served princes, survived prisons, and watched good men destroyed, not by their enemies, but by their own naivety. He did not write to teach cruelty. He wrote to wake men up to the world as it actually operates, not the world they were promised, the real one. He understood one thing above everything else. That generosity from the powerful is rarely generosity at all. It is control in elegant clothing. It is the hand that pats your back, while the other hand quietly empties your pocket. And he left us a warning, one most men never receive because they are too busy being grateful for whatever scraps land in front of them. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." That someone for most of your working life has been you, not because you are weak, but because you were never told the actual rules of the game, being played around you every single day. Lesson 1. Praise is a currency they invented to avoid paying you in real ones. Praise inside a power structure is never neutral. It is a transaction. When someone above you spends their social capital making you feel valued, they are spending the cheapest thing they own, words, to protect the most expensive thing they guard, money. Every compliment is a budget decision. You just were not in the meeting where they made it. You have been in a room where your idea landed perfectly. Decision makers leaned in. The senior person said, "This is exactly the thinking we need." You left energized. They left with your idea. 2 quarters later, it was someone else's initiative, someone else's budget, someone else's promotion, and you were still waiting for your moment to finally come. Here is why it works. Dopamine cannot tell the difference between being paid and being praised. Your brain registers both as reward. They exploit that gap. The fix is not to stop caring. It is to separate the emotional hit from the financial reality. Every time you receive public recognition, ask one private question immediately after. Where is the money? Not aggressively, strategically. Drop this in the comments. I build empires, I don't accept trophies as payment. Lesson 2. The man who needs validation can be paid in validation. Your need for approval is the exact lever they pull to keep you in place. If you need them to confirm you are good at what you do, they will confirm you endlessly, with awards, with mentions, with applause, and they will never compensate you accordingly, because acknowledgement costs nothing. And you taught them, slowly and visibly, as that it is enough. You have seen this man. Maybe you are this man. The one who works harder after a compliment. The one who stays late because the boss called him reliable. The one who accepted a lateral move because they said he was too valuable to lose, which is the oldest trap in the book. If you were that valuable, the offer would have come with numbers, not adjectives. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. You are not learning this to become cold. You are learning this so you stop being the most exploited person in every room you enter. The shift is simple. Stop performing for approval. Start performing for outcomes. Outcomes you define before the work begins. Outcomes with a price attached before a single hour is spent. Drop this in the comments. I set my price before I show my skills. Lesson 3. They make you famous inside the building so you never leave it. Internal reputation is the most sophisticated trap ever built. They tie your identity to their organization. You become the best analyst we have. The institutional memory, the go-to, and slowly, without a single threatening move, they make it psychologically impossible for you to imagine being great somewhere else. You start believing the ceiling is the sky. Your colleagues come to you for answers. Your name is mentioned upstairs. You are indispensable. That sounds like power, but indispensable inside a cage is just comfortable captivity. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. A prince who makes his advisors feel irreplaceable owns them more completely than any contract, any salary, any written agreement ever could. It is genius, and it is being used on you right now. The move: build your external reputation with the same energy. You give your internal one. Write, speak, document every result you produce for them. Quantify it, make it portable, and make sure the market knows you built it. Because the moment your value exists only inside their walls, you handed them the negotiation before it ever began. Lesson 4. They give you responsibility without authority to keep you producing without power. This is the silent kill. They give you the title, the accountability. They announce publicly that you are leading, but the budget sits with someone above you. The final decision requires someone else's approval. The headcount needs another signature. You carry the full weight of failure. They hold the wheel of every real decision. That arrangement has a name. It is called exploitation. You have run a project where you were accountable for the outcome, but couldn't hire, spend, or pivot without 3 layers of approval. You worked harder because your pride was on the line. They leveraged your pride. When it succeeded, the credit was distributed generously. When it struggled, your name appeared first in every explanation. Every time, without fail. The rule is absolute. Never accept a leadership role without negotiating the resources that make leadership real. A title without budget is theater. Responsibility without authority is servitude dressed in a job description. Machiavelli's prince would never have accepted command of an army he was not permitted to deploy. Neither should you. Drop this in the comments. No authority, no accountability. I don't lead in chains. Lesson 5. The appraisal system was designed to delay, not reward. Annual reviews, quarterly ratings, stack rankings, and competency matrices. These are not systems for fairly compensating contribution. They are systems for making you wait 12 months before you can ask for what you deserved 6 months ago. And by then, your leverage has decayed, the market has moved, and they have spent the year quietly normalizing that your output was already priced correctly. Every formal review cycle resets your psychological position back to zero. You reprove value you already proved. Meanwhile, the man who did not wait for the review, who negotiated at the exact moment they needed him most, when the project was live and the alternative was disaster, that man got paid. Not reviewed. Not rated. Not thanked, paid. The Machiavellian move. Negotiate at the peak of your leverage, not at the calendar's convenience. The moment you complete something irreplaceable, the moment they ask you to absorb more scope, the moment a competitor reaches out and they can see it in your posture. That is when the conversation happens, never at their scheduled moment of control, always at yours. Lesson 6. Silence about your options is the most expensive mistake you make. They know what you are worth externally. HR benchmarks salaries against market rates constantly. They have the number. They track it quarterly. They just do not volunteer it. And you, out of loyalty, comfort, or fear of seeming disloyal, never mention that you know it too. That silence is the most expensive gift you give them every single year you stay quiet. The moment you receive an outside offer and say nothing, you have handed them the most powerful tool in their kit. Your own silence. They remain comfortable. You remain underpaid, and every year that gap compounds like interest in their favor. The man who could have been sovereign becomes the man who was simply convenient to keep undervalued. The move is cold, simple, and Machiavellian. Know your market value at all times, not to be disloyal, to be a man who cannot be quietly robbed. Let that number live in your mind every single morning you walk through that door, because the man who knows exactly what the open market will pay, him walks differently, negotiates differently, and cannot be peacefully underpaid indefinitely. I drop this in the comments. I know my number and I will never pretend I don't. Listen carefully now. Everything they called your strength, your reliability, your loyalty, your pride in the craft, your commitment to seeing things through, every single one of those qualities was weaponized against you. Not by monsters, by systems, by incentives, by ordinary people playing a game with rules they understood and never explained. That ends today. The old you is dead. The version of you that believed excellence alone was negotiation, gone. The man who smiled through underpayment because at least he was appreciated, that man cannot exist anymore. You know too much now. And knowledge without action is just expensive suffering. The only thing worse than being exploited is being exploited after you learned the mechanism and still did nothing. You are a weapon pointed at your own future, not at your employer, not at the people who used you, at your future. The skills are yours, the results history is yours, the reputation, even the one they built for you inside their walls, can be rebuilt outside those walls faster than you believe possible. Because you are the asset. You were always the asset. You simply forgot to act like one. You belong to no one, not to the title they gave you, not to the culture they told you was family, not to the legacy project they convinced you only you could carry. You are a free agent in a market that desperately needs what you build. The only question left is whether you negotiate like it, or whether you keep accepting credit as your currency, and wondering why the account never grows. If this hit somewhere real, if Some part of this script made you think of a specific moment, a specific room, a specific review where you walked out with words instead of numbers. Then you already know what this channel is built for. This is not motivation. This is intelligence, the kind they hoped you would never find. If you are ready to stop being managed and start being sovereign, subscribe. Not for me, for the version of you that has been waiting for permission to finally play the real game. Before you leave, I want you to sit with one question, not for the algorithm. For yourself, think about every position you have held, every project you owned, every result you produced that still lives in someone else's portfolio. And ask yourself honestly, how much of your real financial value have you left on the table because you were too grateful for the applause to ask for the invoice? Drop your answer below. I read every single one.